Alright, so I'm back. I added a line to the top of the wastegate now and set up my boost controller in the Holly, hopefully correctly. And I'm going to go and try to make some boost runs, but I got this wild idea in my head that what I want to try to do is set up like some torque management in the Terminator. So I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to test it though. I have a 1D table set up. I already set it up. If it works, I'll show you guys. If not, then I probably won't show it so it's not confusing or someone doesn't see it later and think that it works. So I have a 1D table set up that's pulling 30 degrees of timing, and I have it set up to pull timing at a specific RPM range. So I have my shift point set up at 5750, and I have it set up to start pulling timing at 5700. So essentially in my head, the way that it works is RPM comes up, it commands the reduced timing, 50 RPM later it commands the gear change, and then the action of applying the clutches and dragging the RPM down will add the timing back in. So at that point in my head, the way it works is clutches should already be fully engaged, gear change should be fully finished, and then that's what pulls the RPM down and then pulls it out of that table activation and puts the timing back in. So the valve, it's stock valve spring, so it floats at like 5800. So I'm going to try to do it a little bit early at 57. So I'm going to start it up and I'm just going to let it warm up. It's cold, so it takes a long time to warm this thing up with the Duramax intercooler. So I'm going to do that. Then my goal for the day is to, one, not break the transmission, and then two, I want to hear that loud valve open. It opens, it'll be fully open like 10 pounds, and I haven't even heard it open yet. Alright, I'm just going to try it. I'm going to hit it. I'm data logging. I'm going to do like from 0 through some gear changes. And I have the boost controller set at like 30%, so we'll just test it all at the same time. How about that? Sound good? Okay. So my boost controller is working. I actually hit 12 pounds on that pull. So I'm gonna, what it did pull timing. So the 1D table that I had worked, but because it was pulling RPM 50 RPM early, it basically just acted like a rev limiter then, and it didn't. That's why it kind of like sounded like rev limiter. It basically was acting like a rev limiter, and it wouldn't allow it to get to that 50 RPM. It eventually did, and it shifted before I lifted, but it was kind of like around the same time. So what I have now is the 1D table set up to pull timing at the same time that it commands the shift. So hopefully, like during that process, it'll probably like do something weird for a little bit. But maybe it'll be a little bit quicker. But it did make 12 pounds. So boost controller's working, that's good. Oh wait, I should look at one more thing. What that noise was, see if I lost a coupler again. So I did lose a coupler right off the throttle body. So I have that like O'Reilly Spectra Performance coupler on there, and it's kind of like that hard silicone rubber plastic crap. So I'll buy a new one today. I don't want to use that one anymore. So I have like that coupler on there, and then an extension with a little pipe. So I want to get just the right coupler for it. So I'm going to do that, but I'm going to go home and tighten it quick. See if we can get it to not pop off. And I'm going to unhook that fuel pressure regulator from the Firewall. Like, you hear that like grinding noise, and the truck sounds like a freaking diesel. So I think it's like the injector pulse, and you can hear it through the fuel system, but because I have it bolted to the firewall, you can hear everything that the fuel regulator's doing, and like the injector pulsing, and I feel like that's why it sounds like a diesel. It sounds weird. So I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna test my theory, my hypothesis. You know, it's getting wintry outside, and it's like really dark. It's only like 4 o'clock. Like running out of time here. So I did take the fuel regulator off the firewall, and it doesn't sound like a diesel anymore. So that's cool. Not in here anyways. So let's see what we got. I know my secondary pumps are coming on too, because I could see on the log that the duty cycle on the injectors dropped 3% at 9 pounds, and I have it set to come on at 8. So, all right, let's give her the whammo. Shift actually didn't really seem that bad. It felt kind of just like the stock torque management on HP tuners. It was like you could feel it kind of a little bit, but yeah, it really wasn't too bad, I guess. Alright, so I made another change. It did blow the coupler off again in the same spot, so I'm gonna figure something else out with that. I do have a hose clamp on it, so I'll probably get like a T-bolt clamp with a decent coupler on it. I made another change to that torque management table. I put it to shift. I put the torque management table to come on. I put the torque management table to come on 50 RPM after the commanded shift now, because that was the same time. And it still hit limit, like acted like it was hitting limiter. What I want it to do, I don't want it to act like it's hitting the limiter. So I want to see if this makes it a little bit better. That way it's like actively pulling timing while it's in the middle of the gear change. It doesn't really have to be perfect, I don't think, but right now it's acting like it's hitting limiter. So before it was on limiter for like a half a second, and then it wanted to shift. Now this time it was like a couple tenths of a second, and it shifted. So what I want to do now is see if it gets a little bit better. So that would allow it to like be starting the gear change, RPM comes up, yeah, whatever. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just gonna do a pull with the coupler off, just NA, and maybe that'll be a little bit easier on the transmission instead of testing it on 12 pounds of boost. You know what I'm saying? Might not be great. So, we are making some progress though. We got the boost controller working. We got it actually making boost. Man, it's super, super lazy. Probably because it's 5,500 pounds and it's a stock converter. So when you launch it, it's like launching from 1,500 RPM, and it's just like a dog. And then it wakes up. But we knew this going into it, right? I think we all knew that this was going to happen. Right? All right. Drag racer here. I'm going to do a 0 to 27. Better data log this beast. Don't want to miss it. good. It was just like a light little, I might just leave it there. Actually felt decent. Well, you guys can see on the video, it kind of like slows down a little bit, but it wasn't like, didn't sound like it was bouncing off limiter like it was doing before, where it's just like, you could feel it losing power and then it came back in. So if that's like good timing where it's actually like losing a little bit of power, finishes the gear change and then comes back, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Okay, I ended up finding, let's check my battery. Alright, I ended up finding a T-bolt clamp, a 4.5 or 4-inch T-bolt clamp that would work. So I put that guy on there and slammed it down with an impact. So hopefully that doesn't pop off or a different one pops off. We'll just keep fixing them. So what I did this time, I changed that torque management, shift RPM, another 50 RPM later. So what I can do is I can compare in 50 RPM increments, because that one felt okay, but I put it a little bit later just so I can see if I can get it a little bit closer to where it's maybe not going to feel so lazy so long before it shifts. It'd be sweet if you could get it to a point where it's like right as it starts to shift, like command the gear change, it pulls the timing. So by the time the gear change is done, it just wants to like put the timing back into it, which would be pretty cool. So let's go do this. I did bring the Dragy with me, so we can maybe get some times. I kind of want to do just some comparison, because I did have some data from when it was on the 4 pounds. I can see if it maybe is a little bit not as terrible. Alright, data logging, Dragy set up, got the RPM changed. Let's run on 950. Interesting. Alright, so 14.6 would be the calculated yeah, so I must have lifted a little bit early based on the 8th mile. So 14.6, guys, with the Dragy, but it was doing like a 15.2 before. So one thing that's interesting is I'm not hearing that exhaust valve opening. The loud valve, I'm not hearing any change, and it was running like 12 pounds. At least I think it was on that. So yeah, the 1-2 shift felt okay, and then it seemed like about the time that it was going to do the 2-3 shift, it just fell off. So, I don't know. But yeah, we're starting to get places. Alright, so looking through the log here, it actually hit boost cut at 15 pounds while it was trying to do the 2-3 shift. It had a little spike on the 2-3 shift, and it hit 15 pounds and hit boost cut. So that's what it was, guys. That's what it was. So yeah, I might even go later with that thing. Let's try it again once. I'm gonna go like 100 RPM later and just see what it does, because it still looks like it's doing the rev limiter thing. What I should do is neutral the transmission. Let's try that. So what I'm gonna do is I'll disable that table, and I'll see when it actually wants to shift. We'll see when it actually does start to pull the RPM down. So let's just disable that thing, and then I'll do another pull, and I'll see what it does naturally. There's two deer walking behind me right now. Just ran across the street. Two deers. Deerses. Guess I could just stop being a wimp, huh? And just try it. See what it does on a good 2-3 shift. See, where did it boost cut again? 15 pounds. I also don't have like any timing in it. 12 degrees. So it's like really not making much power. Really weird right now. It's like completely floored and it doesn't want to go anywhere. And it's adding like 30% fuel. It's running really fucking weird. I think I have an answer. So it's running at like negative timing right now, like negative 10, 11 degrees. So must have had something else enabled or changed when I messed with that table. So I'm gonna see what I messed up. Alright, so I shut off the advanced enable, like for the, I shut off the advanced enable for the RPM, like when it turns it on based on RPM, but the enable for the, like the main enable for the table was still on, so it was actually pulling that timing all the time. So now that I have the table completely disabled, it should run fine. Hit a deer. Remember when I said those deer walked behind me? Same exact spot. There was more deer crossing. But I was only going like 10 miles an hour, so I saw them. But you know what? It's just these little deer running around all over. That would be my luck. Hit a fucking deer right now. So this is stock settings on the transmission, not pulling any timing. going to go right in the handheld here and turn the boost cut up to 20 pounds. And we'll see where it wants to go. 20, save. And we'll do the same thing. Ooh, turn around. I'm gonna turn around. There's a deer over there. I don't want to play with the deer. Brakes a lot hard. Maybe I just won't worry about the transmission then. I really wonder what it hit for boost. I think I'll be done. I gotta put some gas in the truck. That on the Dragy showed like a 13 something. 13 seconds. Shit flying around all over. So that was an 890. But it seemed like the quarter mile time was a lot faster compared to the 8th mile time, that last one. So let's see. There was a car that pulled out. This thing actually makes boost, I think. I could hear the turbo spooling when I was foot braking it. kind of funny. I think I'm getting low on gas too, so I gotta get back home. I know I'm low because my light's been on, but after I did the modification to the tank, it's about, when the light comes on, it shows empty. It's gonna be about a quarter tank left. So yeah, I'm impressed. I guess it spun the tires, it spun the front wheels. So that was kind of a crappy launch too. I guess it spun the front wheels. It was crappier than normal. So it makes a couple pounds on the foot brake and 13.7 on the Dragy on the brakes. So interesting, like mid 13 with a terrible launch, because it takes like almost all the first gear to actually get going. So interesting. I guess there's some potential. The transmission hasn't broken yet. So I guess it was eventful. Actually did something. It's not such a dog. Got the 13's, baby. Get the 13's. Alrighty, so let's go over some of these logs. So this is one of the last ones. One of the last ones that was actually decent when I didn't have the torque management thing on that I was testing. So you can see the gear changes are nice and crisp. So this was pretty decent, probably almost quarter mile pull before I got on the brakes. So boost was coming up to about 16 psi right here. So that's not too bad. Did spike up a little bit on the gear changes. That's why I was hitting boost cut, because I originally had my boost cut set at 15 pounds. But just look how freaking lazy this turbo is. This is boost right here, this blue line. And it doesn't actually hit peak boost until after the 1-2 shift. So it only made it to 12 pounds, and it's revving out this entire time. So throttle, I'm wide open throttle, and it's just a dog. And then finally hits peak here after the gear change, 15 pounds, and then kind of carries that out. But the thing is just so slow. It's pretty funny. I also don't think that exhaust cutout valve is opening. I didn't hear it. I haven't edited the video yet at this point, so I would like to hear it in the video and see what it sounds like, but I don't think that it's actually opening. So intake air temp is this line, 67 degrees to about 96, so 29 degree rise during a pull. It's 13 seconds at 16 pounds, which isn't really too bad. So here's a different one. You can see that the closed loop is yanking a bunch of fuel here because I didn't actually hit this part of the table. So the changes I was doing before were all like below this 5,700 range, especially at this boost level. So I basically hit a new spot. So I basically hit a spot that it wasn't in before. Actually, this whole thing is really kind of all new, so it's pulling a bunch of fuel. And then here, it really yanks a bunch, down to 22%. So that stuff's all fixed now. I did fix it again after this one, but good thing for the Holley closed loop. So yeah, I don't know, guys. There's not really much else to say on this one. Got the boost turned up. I just got to fix the couplers popping off, and it's actually a pretty fun little truck. So, well, it's actually a big truck, but you know what I mean. So I think what I'll do next is probably start looking at some transmission stuff, and then I'll just daily drive this thing for like a couple weeks until we start working on the transmission. And yeah, so that's about it for this one. Have a good time.